feel free to stop me anytime or whatever, and get more pizza, get more drinks, whatever. But say again?
Is he recording?
Yeah, these guys are recording.
All right.
They're from Switcher Studio. It's a really cool app. I just heard about and found out about a few days ago. Well, maybe more than that. But they're recording tonight, and yeah.
You wrote the entire thing in NativeScript?
What's that?
You wrote the entire thing in NativeScript?
No, you'll have to ask these guys. I think it's a actual native app. So yeah. My name's Nick Branstein. I work here at KiZAN. So I want to thank everyone for coming. This is a really great turnout to our first NativeScript meetup. When I heard about Telerik was doing like a Summer of NativeScript, I thought it was really cool, and I said, hey, let's try to get a meetup here over the summer at KiZAN. And fortunate enough that KiZAN was like, yeah, let's do it. So that's kind of how we got here. But basically we have 3 meetups planned, July, August, and September. And today I'll have like a short presentation, and there's also like a hands-on lab. If you kind of read in the meetup group, there's a hands-on lab that everyone can kind of try out NativeScript for themselves tonight. Disclaimer, I am not a NativeScript pro. I am learning it right now just as like everyone else in this room is learning it. So maybe I'll be able to answer a question, probably not though. I think what NativeScript is really cool, and it's a product that's put out by Telerik. I think it's really, really awesome what they've done with it, so we'll kind of get into that. But again, I'm Nick Branstein, that's my Twitter. I also blog with my brother Mike, who you probably met, at brosteins.com. You can read it if you'd like, make fun of us, it doesn't matter to me. Alright, so has anyone here heard of NativeScript? These guys don't count because I work with them. Ed, you don't count either. Okay, so you guys are like, okay, what is NativeScript? I like to think of it, these are slides from Telerik, by the way. I did not put them together, but they're really good slides, I think. I like to call it kind of a framework. A lot of times they'll call it like a new language, and it kind of is a new programming language, but it's really JavaScript, or you can use TypeScript to write it. But I like to think of it as a new framework, and we'll get to why they call it native in a minute. That's the really cool part about it. So it lets you build native iOS apps, Android apps, and soon Windows Phone. So some of you might be thinking, oh, PhoneGap lets me do that. Xamarin lets me do that. It's not the same thing as PhoneGap, because in PhoneGap, and I'm not a PhoneGap pro either, but PhoneGap you need to run inside of a web page essentially. Everything gets put into a web page, and then that web page is rendered on your device basically. Xamarin needs to get compiled, okay, and then this right down here, this is React Native, which is what Facebook uses, okay, which is JSX kind of, but that doesn't give you direct access to native APIs like NativeScript does. So NativeScript doesn't need to run in a web page. You don't need to compile it because it's JavaScript, and you do get direct access to native APIs. And that's the really cool part, in my mind. We'll take a look at that. So some of these I'm going to kind of breeze through real quick, because what I think is more important is to just have everyone try it and kind of see how it works and learn it. I'm kind of a hands-on person and a visual person, so some of these will go fast. But what's cool about this is, if you already know JavaScript and CSS, and if you know TypeScript, you're kind of a leg up on the competition, because you're really just writing JavaScript. It's all done in Node, I believe. So you can download more NPM modules that kind of tack on to what features NativeScript already has. And it's open source too. So if you want to contribute to it, you can. And you can go look at all the source code. And I believe they're actually writing NativeScript in TypeScript, which is even cooler. I'm like super into TypeScript, so I just think that's awesome. This last part here is really cool. So they're easy to use native APIs, and what that means is if you know Objective-C or you know Java for Android, this is going to look very, very familiar. It's JavaScript, but the calls are all the same, and we'll look at an example of those in a little bit here. And open source, forgot to hit the button there. This is, if you want to contribute to it, you'll find it, go to nativescript.org. There's a link to the GitHub. It's all on GitHub, all totally open source. You can contribute, yada, yada, yada. We're going to skip this picture because it's really just a picture. And let's just take a quick example of NativeScript for Android, okay? Now, I'm not an Android developer. I spend a lot of my time in the Microsoft world and in JavaScript. Ask these guys, they'll tell you later, I really like JavaScript. But this call up here, android.text.format.time, that's the exact same thing you would do in Java. The exact same methods, the exact same names and everything in Java to do that. Except this is JavaScript, which is really cool because we all probably already know JavaScript. But that's where the native in NativeScript comes from. That is the native API call. So if you already know Android and you already know that framework, this translates directly to that. Okay? So let's take a look at iOS. So you guys know some Objective-C and you know some iOS. Does that look like Objective-C to you? The same for UI alert? Well, okay, not Objective-C, the language. But this is the way you would create, one way you could create alert in Objective-C, but this is JavaScript code. This is the same UI alert views, the same type of view in the Objective-C in the iOS SDK. So again, it's native. That's where the native comes from, and that's what the native in NativeScript means. And that's kind of why I call it, in my mind, I really like to think of it as a framework more than a language, because really the language you're writing it in is JavaScript. So it's kind of maybe a little play on words there, but I think that's really cool. So if you already know Objective-C, you're good to go. So here's a screenshot from Apple's developer reference, and you can see the UI alert view exists there. Well, it exists in NativeScript too. So there's a note in here that says, in case you didn't believe me that I was lying to you, well, there's some proof. I think that's cool, but I'm easily excitable. So, all right, how does it work? This is also kind of neat. NativeScript runs, it is JavaScript, so it's running inside of a VM on the device, okay? So the JavaScript, the code that you write is getting translated and run at runtime inside of a VM that's running on the device. So it's not running in a browser. It's not being compiled to native code per se, but it's running in a VM. So in iOS, it's called JavaScript Core, or V8 on Android. It's kind of neat. It's a different take, I think, on it than some of the other cross-platform frameworks and tools. So that's how they're able to take those and translate them basically to code and native code that is going to run on those devices. So, again, this is just kind of reiterating what's happening in Android. The top thing is running in that VM in Android, and the bottom is in iOS. So I was supposed to skip that one. I'm lagging behind. Okay, so one of the reasons why I haven't really done a whole lot of, I have a Mac, I don't do a lot of native iOS development because I just haven't had the time to sit down and learn another framework, all the API calls, everything. In Android, I don't even want to touch that right now. So, NativeScript modules for all the things. So another thing that they have done, I'm getting ahead of myself. Another thing they've done is they've created what they call modules, kind of maybe similar to what PhoneGap has done, where they've taken, they've written one API method to do the same thing across all the platforms, okay? So you can call the camera one particular way with the camera module, let's say, and it will do whatever it needs to do in Android, in iOS, in Windows, okay? So, let's think about this for a minute. This is kind of cool because you could do either thing that you like. If you already really love iOS and happen to love JavaScript at the same time, you can write those native API code in JavaScript and use the native calls, okay? Or you can use the module for, like, let's say the camera, which is basically a wrapper around the native code, okay, the native API calls that NativeScript gives you, and you can use that wrapper that they've created, much kind of like how PhoneGap is. So there's two different ways to do it. You can pick and choose however you want to do it. And as they say here, there's already a ton of modules that people have already created in the community. I don't know exactly when they started creating NativeScript. It was over a year ago at least, but they released their first beta version, I think maybe about a year ago. I remember talking to Telerik and I was getting really excited, like, oh, you guys are working on this, this is cool, give me some insider info. And they kind of dropped some hints to us here at KiZAN about what it was. And so they've already developed tons and tons of these modules that are wrappers kind of around things, as well as all the native code or the native API calls. Those already exist too. So this is an example of a module, okay? And if you're familiar with JavaScript frameworks and JavaScript libraries, you can require the module that you want to use here. In this case, they're using the file module. And you're going to say new file, yada, yada, yada. And what this does is it translates to this code in Android, which this is native API calls in Android if you were to write that for Android. And this down here is the same API call that you would make if you were writing Objective-C app for iOS. So these still exist. If you want to do it this way, you can. Or you can use a module that kind of will take care of that for you. Here's just another example of HTTP module. So if you want to make a request to get some JSON from your service, you can do that. There's tons of modules out there. If you go to the Git repo, you'll see a lot of modules that people have already created. So you can create your own if you want. Here's an example. It's probably really hard to see, but there's a lot of modules here. There's a NativeScript phone, social sharing, Azure Mobile Basic, native number. You can create native numbers. There's a Hello World template. So there's a lot of modules, maps, text-to-speech, flashlight. There's a lot of stuff already out there, and these are all just NPM modules. So if you're familiar with NPM install, yada, 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 you're good to go. So Jackie Chan says, all right, Because I'm sure like that's all cool, but you know we all want to figure out how do we use this, how do we make apps. All right, 2 ways. First way, Telerik platform. I don't work for Telerik, but we do use Telerik platform here at work. It's a really cool service. It does cost money. There's a trial for 30 days for free. But basically, I'm getting ahead of myself again, but we'll talk about that in a minute. You can also install the NativeScript CLI via NPM and use whatever IDE you want. And in the examples I'm going to show you, we are going to use Visual Studio Code because it's the new, cool, free, hipster browser. I actually really like it so far. So again, Telerik platform, there's a whole bunch of stuff here. You can try it 30 days for free or don't try it. But it is a really cool service. We use that for apps that we develop for some of our clients here at KiZAN, and it's really good. If you want to learn more about it, talk to Mike, because he's used it more than I have. But it gives you can do backend as a service, you can do all kinds of stuff with it. Telerik App Builder also can give you an in-browser IDE that's really good. And it connects, and you can use all the, if you use Kendo Mobile, things like that, you can use all those controls. It's really awesome. And you can get a Visual Studio extension with it as well, so you can still use Visual Studio if you want.
You know, is platform in any way priced into DevCraft Complete, or is that separate?
No, it's separate from DevCraft Complete. So if you have DevCraft Complete, you'll have to get this outside of that.
But again, you do not need that to do this. All of this is open source.
Or
Correct,
already have
yeah.
DevCraft?
Yeah, if you already have it. Yeah, this would be external, outside of that though. You can go look at the prices. This would be more like, I think of the business type scenario, pricing wise. Again, there's a 30-day trial for free. It doesn't hurt to go try it. This is be for an individual pricing wise, but you can find all that on their website too. So I'm not here to sell you App Builder, although it is really cool. NativeScript CLI, that's what I'm going to demonstrate here very, very soon because it's free, and like I said, you can use Visual Studio Code. That's what I'm using tonight. You don't have to. You can use Sublime, whatever you want, really. As long as you can install Node on your machine, you can download this and get it working. And this URL here, it'll give you some really good instructions on how to get started installing. If you've never installed Node before and never done an NPM, installed an NPM package, that'll get you started. They're really, really good instructions, except when you start installing the Android SDK, because I know a lot of people are having problems with that. But that's Android's fault. So again, more instructions. I think I even posted a link to this in the meetup group that you can check out. I didn't do the Android stuff on my machine. I only did iOS. Unfortunately, if you want to do iOS, you still need to have a Mac. Sorry. Maybe someday it'll change. Probably not though.
You know, they like, if I do the Telerik platform,
Mm-hmm.
do I still need to have a Mac to compile an iOS, or will they?
No, if you do Telerik platform, they have, I think it's called App Builder. Maybe, I think it's App Builder. People are shaking their heads. That will allow you to compile and build iOS applications all in the cloud. They'll do it for you.
Pay Apple the $99 or whatever it be.
Well, you'll still have to pay Apple the $99 if you want to release something to the store. But if you want to just try it out, you won't have to. So
To maybe follow up on that, with App Builder, you do not need an Apple Store developer account to get something to run on your phone.
right. Yeah.
You can build your own kind of private Apple store that you can release to it.
Yep.
If you want to publish to multiple people in more of kind of a bit for a business way, then you would need Apple Developer Manager.
It's
But-
pretty slick what they've done with Telerik platform. It used to be called Icinium was their like in-browser IDE, and that was actually out a couple of years ago, and we kind of tested it out here at KiZAN, and we weren't huge fans of it. It just wasn't quite there yet. And then a year after that, they were like, "Oh, we got this whole app builder suite. You can do all this other stuff with it," and we started using it, and we're like, "Yeah, this is awesome. This rocks." So it's really easy to get started with. So, all right. What I'm going to do is show you how easy, if you have done this, got Node on your machine, and installed NativeScript module, we're going to take a look and see how easy it is to create a new app, okay, called Hello World. So I'm going to do this live. This worked when I was doing it at home. Everyone always says that. So bear with me for a minute here. So what I'm going to do here is, I'm on a Mac, so sorry. I like my Mac though. I have a folder that I use for, some Git repos. You can see I told you I've already tried this before because I have NS Hello World here. But we're going to do it again. I'm going to create a folder. Create. We'll call it NS for NativeScript Hello World 2. Okay? We're going to run that. And this is going out to the internet. Okay. TNS, by the way, that is probably stands for TypeScript, Telerik NativeScript. Sorry, I really like TypeScript. I probably already said that. That's the CLI, command line interface. So, hey, it created a project for me. Awesome. I'm not mirroring my screen, so that's why I keep looking up here. So if you want to look, hey, there's some stuff in that folder. All right. So I'll just show you this. I also have Visual Studio Code installed on my Mac. And what we can do from here is open. This is really hard to see like this. Open that new folder I created, right? Holy cow, we have a whole project here. That is awesome. This is a whole Hello World project. Alright, that's really cool. I'm not going to show the slide here because it doesn't matter. What we're going to do next is we're going to do TNS platform add. And again, I am not a NativeScript pro, and I also can't type. I believe what this is going to do is it's going to basically configure that project so it can run on iOS, okay? Cool, it copied some template files and it gave me a success message. That's cool. I'm going to close out of this because we don't really need this right now. And if you guys want to follow along, if you're at that point, feel free. I probably should have said that earlier.
Do you want to make the phone a little bit bigger?
Yeah. How do I do that?
Command plus.
Thank you. You can tell, like, I don't spend a lot of my time in terminal. Can you guys see that now? Okay.
More.
Is that good? Mike's blind. Okay. So here's a really cool part. As long as you have Xcode installed, okay, I can tell it to run iOS emulator. Alright, it's gonna do some stuff. It's probably building it, checking everything, making sure everything works right. Starting iOS simulator. Sweet. and I don't know why, but it's an iPhone 4S. I don't know how to change that yet, but whatever. That's fine. That was super easy. I have made my first iOS app in like 5 minutes. And I can tap this, I think, and it's going to decrement that. And I haven't tried tapping this the whole way, but I really want to, so. There we go. Achievement unlocked. But like I said, on the iOS side, everything was, I mean, you guys saw how easy that was. We recreated a brand new iOS app, a Hello World app. And, you know, we can open up in Visual Studio Code or whatever your favorite editor is. You can find the right menu option here. I can point it to NS Hello World 2, open that up. I can start editing this app if I wanted to, although I don't know what I would be doing because I'd probably be breaking it at this point. All right, so let me go back to the slides real quick here. So I think I have a few more. All right, so we did that. We're going to skip running on Android because I don't have any of this stuff configured on my machine, sorry. But theoretically, it's going to do the exact same thing. And the only thing different here that we did was we added Android as a platform that we want to be. And you can have that in the same solution, Android or Android and iOS. And I don't know when Windows Phone is coming, but at some point you'll be able to do Windows Phone there too. And you only need to write it once. It's awesome. Just some like housekeeping as far as like how the apps are structured in the folder. Resources for your app, CSS for your app, because it's, you know, HTML and JavaScript. App.js is always going to be your starting point for your application. You'll have like application.start in there basically. And then, you know, if you're familiar with, you know, MVVM or MVC or whatever, you're probably going to have a view and a view model, things like that. So main page.xml, that's your view. Main page.js, probably your view models in there, and some data bindings, because if you don't have data bindings in your app, it's probably going to be pretty boring. And some styling for that particular page, okay? And the TNS modules, these are any NPM modules that you've installed for NativeScript. And here's the platforms that we're targeting. Okay, quick look at app.js. Again, this is like the main entry point for your application. It's really simple. This is main page is like the first page that you're going to show, and then you start your application. Really easy. It's so easy I don't have to explain it. Okay, and like I said before, I don't really do any XAML, but this looks very kind of similar to XAML, a little bit. But all the markup for your view for your pages, it's in XML. Okay.
Is this a NativeScript specific
Yes.
XML, or is that?
Yes, it is. You can create, and if you've done any let me take a step back. If you've done any React too, it's kind of similar to this a little bit. JSX is, but it's all done in XML. Page is like your wrapper for everything, and then you put components inside of there. So that's the part where I'd say it's kind of similar to React, is you're building components, like labels, buttons, things like that. And Telerik or NativeScript, the NativeScript devs have kind of given you a lot of components already out of the box. And I'm sure eventually people are going to have NPM modules to install custom components. You can create your own custom components, okay? You could create a drop-down that's filterable, whatever you want to do, you can do it. We won't be getting into that because it's probably a little more than the basics, but this would create a page with a label on it that says Hello World. Pretty simple. And the one thing I will say is that the documentation for this is really, really good right now. I can pull that up if you want, but I think it's like docs.nativescript.org. It's really, really good. And it walks you through like just getting all the basics done. Data binding, if you've done any sort of data binding with any of the other frameworks, this should look pretty similar. You have a page, page loaded, that's an event. We're going to bind this page loaded event to a function called load. Okay? In a label, we're going to bind the text of this label to something called message. Okay, that might be a property in your view model, right? So I'm not going to go too much in there into detail because what I really want to do is encourage everyone, we're going to do a hands-on lab. So you don't have to, but if you want to, I'll show you what I've done so far. Again, not a pro. But if you go to, I probably should have made like a shorter link for this. If you go to this URL, that will kind of walk you through getting this hands-on lab set up. Maybe I'll open that in my browser. Let me show you this first. I really think NativeScript is cool, so props to all the people that are working on NativeScript right now. So there's some NativeScript info. Let me open I'll open that URL in the browser so we can kind of see it. Yay. This is going to walk you through setting up. It's so hard to like do this like this, but this is going to walk you through setting up the lab for July. And what we'll end up having is there's going to be hands-on labs. There's one in July. This is just like a getting started, just to make sure you got everything configured right on your machine, and just poke around and see what you can do with it. So August there will be another lab that we can work on together, or you can work on individually, and then September comes after August. There'll be another lab in September. I haven't seen that one yet, so I'm sure it's being worked on still. But let's walk through some of this. And does everyone have the URL?
Okay.
I'll leave that up for a little bit then. A couple minutes here.
Can we post it on the meetup?
Say again?
Can we post it on the meetup?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll just do that right now. Live demos. Here we go. Welcome to NativeScript. Here we go. Post. There you go. Go to meetup.com and click on Welcome to NativeScript and click that. Alright, so basically we're just building like a Hello World app, okay? This is kind of what I kind of posted some instructions to this. I didn't think about this until yesterday, my apologies, that you might want to try to get this stuff configured ahead of time, getting the CLI configured. This is what I'm going to use as the CLI. It's free. Visual Studio Code is free. I like free. You could use App Builder if you want, but I'm going to focus on the CLI when I go through these things. So I think I posted a link to going through the NativeScript CLI lab, so it kind of gets you started on configuring the NativeScript CLI. So how many people actually have that working that they know of? Kind of. Tyler's got it. Okay. Rex got it. Awesome. And hopefully if you guys if you want to do this right now and you need help and you are encountering an error, I'd love to use some time here to have people try out NativeScript, you know, and we can kind of help each other, because I didn't hit any errors when I was installing it, but Jonathan did, and so he might have the answer. All right. So if I click on go through the NativeScript CLI lab, it's going to take me through the lab if I'm using the CLI. So step 0, install and set up. Okay, I already did that. How did I do that? Kind of like this. So clone the repo. That's awesome. It makes it really easy. You just need to type that into your console and clone the repo. Or if you're using, you can use the GitHub for Windows client if you want to clone the repo. However you want to clone it, doesn't matter. Just clone this repo. And it's going to create some folders that look like, how about we just do this? I've already done this, so I'm just going to show you what I came up with. It's not really that exciting. If I could pull what's going on. That would be why. Alright, so I've already done this. I have a special little folder called Git and repos. Summer of NativeScript lab, lab 1. It's going to create, when you clone the repo, it's going to create a couple of folders here, lab 1, lab 2, okay? So we'll be in lab 1 today. Okay? And I literally followed these instructions word for word. I'm not going to read them to everyone, sorry. And then run your app. So I want to show you my app that I did, because it's pretty cool. I'll close out of the hello world, okay? And I'm gonna go open up lab 1 folder. If you want, I encourage you to try Visual Studio Code, because actually I think it's quite good. It's getting better and better and better. They've been releasing a lot of updates to it, probably every 2 or 3 weeks. It keeps getting good. Keeps getting better. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Can you guys see that?
Editor is the same. Looks the same.
Is that better? Yes. Easier to read? Sorry. Okay. So when you clone the repo and open up the project, you're going to get, basically, you'll have an app.js. It'll look exactly like this. You'll have a CSS file, it'll look like that. You'll have a splash screen.xml. It won't look like mine, because I changed mine a little bit. Okay? And then, when I want to run this on my Mac, I go over to my console. If you really like gulp or grunt, you can write a gulp task or a grunt task if you want. I haven't done that yet, because I'm lazy. So, let's go to Summer of NativeScript lab. I can't type. Lab 1, and then I'll run my TNS run iOS emulator, okay, if you're doing the iOS one. Run that. I'm actually going to take this out of full screen, sorry. It's kind of annoying me right now. Starting iOS simulator, build successful. Hello, Summer of NativeScript. Yay! I don't know if the one looks like that quite yet, but I also decided, well, if I'm giving a presentation, I probably should try to do a little something extra on mine. So I spent all night trying to figure out how to put a button on here and get it to work. Not really all night, it wasn't that hard. Let's look at how easy it is to wire up a button. And I encourage everyone to do something to theirs that they want to do.
I keep typing TNS and it says there's
What was that?
I'm
okay.
trying to figure out, I follow the instructions, but I type in TNS and nothing.
Are you running, do you have Node, so you have Node installed?
Yeah. I mean,
Are you in the Node console or whatever.
Well, I mean, I ran the NPM,
And was it npm-i NativeScript?
yeah, and then it tells me to now it tells me to relaunch the,
Yeah, you'll probably need to relaunch your node command prompt.
okay, see, now I think that's what had me confused, because
Okay.
it just says restart the command prompt, so I started a system command.
Yeah, you want to do that all from the node command prompt. Yep. Because it's actually running inside of node.
How do you do that?
Do which?
Restart the node command prompt.
I don't know how to do it on Windows, to
If
be
you're on
honest.
Windows,
Sorry.
There's a Node.js menu option has a Node.js command prompt. You just need to close it.
Okay. Perfect.
I think that's what's been my problem.
So it should be in the start menu somewhere, node, launch it, okay. If you're running Mac, you know, I think it installs something to your bash profile if you're using bash for your terminal. And I'm not a pro at bash or Mac either, but then you can run node basically natively. Okay, so what I did is I added another label to mine, and then I added a button. If you're familiar with Visual Studio, many of the same keystrokes will work in Visual Studio Code. It's really cool. So I added another label. Oh, I also added this thing called a stack layout. And again, I spent like literally 30 minutes, maybe an hour max, looking at the documentation and translating it into this. So I'm sure if I would have been less lazy and spent more time on this, I could have done something even cooler. Sorry I didn't. So stack layout, you could set an orientation to it and say I want a vertical layout. So it's going to literally stack all those components on top of each other. I changed my image source to some other image that was in this demo project. There's a bunch of images here. Some of them are pretty cool. Say what again? Okay. Back to splash screen, so splash screen.xml. If we were to look at the JS file here, this is the main view that it's going to load up when the application loads, right? Okay. So we're looking at splash screen XML. This is the markup to say what we want it to look like. We have an image, two labels. This label has an ID of label 1, and I have a button that says click me. And I also gave it an event called tap, and I'm binding it to something called button tap. Okay? So I'm going to run this again real quick here. What do you guys think it's going to do when I click the button? This is a trick question. It's not going to do anything yet because I still have code comments out. But you'll see, hey, we have a button, and iOS has got a flat design now, so that's why that button looks really weird. But if you know CSS, you can make this look however you want. Okay. Here's my other label, here's my image, and you see they're all stacked on top of each other, right? Pretty simple. And I'm not really that imaginative, so that's why mine's kind of lame, but I wanted to at least do something somewhat interesting. So let's look at my splash screen.js that I have commented out. This is really all that I've done. And disclaimer, this is not very good code, but I adapted it from one of the examples in the documentation so that I could just show you something really quick here, okay? I would probably do this a little differently. Actually, what I'm going to try to do for next time is create my own app and use TypeScript because, again, I really like TypeScript. And kind of show you some maybe better patterns and practices that I would use in my day job. But in my night job, I don't like to do that. So here's my button tap event, right? And we're gonna do some stuff. And I'm using UI/core/view, which I believe is like one of those wrapper modules that we're kind of talking about. So it'll just work across all the platforms. So this is really the last thing I want to show. What really kind of impressed me with NativeScript was, one, all the documentation, because it's really, really good. And two, I followed these examples and these demos, and everything just, it worked. I had no trouble doing anything. It was really, really awesome. So now I have a button, and when I click on it, stop clicking the button. That's what my app does. So that's pretty much it. Does anyone have any questions? What I love is if everyone's interested in trying to get something running on their machine, that'd be cool. I'll help as best I can. And we can collaborate and maybe do something cool.
So I have a question.
Yes.
This is marshalling JavaScript into native calls. It isn't doing something like Xamarin or Accelerate or Titanium where
Right.
there's a pre-compilation phase into something.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So the part that I don't, it's running inside of they have a VM that's running inside of, when they deploy it to the device, it runs inside of some JavaScript VM that I believe is proprietary, that Telerik made. I don't know that part, but somehow they're translating that those native JavaScript API calls into code that's running on that machine. And it's done, when we were talking to one of the Telerik developers, he basically said it's done inside that VM. There's some magic happening inside the VM layer. So that part, couldn't speak to that, unfortunately.
So the CSS that you write, it gets translated into native UI elements?
Yes.
Huh.
Yes. And let me pull up the documentation, but they don't support everything quite yet.
I would imagine so.
They only support certain things
Right.
On those elements and certain CSS and stuff like that.
Okay.
But I think they're actively working to work to translate a lot, as much as they can.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty cool. I mean, because we've done Xamarin here in the office, and you still have to do a lot of stuff specific to iOS, a lot of things that's specific to Android and Windows, and none of it just works. Even when they came out with Xamarin Forms, we had to do a bunch of custom stuff here, and none of it just worked. I wish I had spent the time to do the Android stuff, but you would see that button's going to look different on Android.
Sure.
So that is pretty cool, what they've accomplished, I think. And it's really cool that it's open source too, the language of the whole. Does anyone else have any questions or anything? But I'll just make up an answer if I don't know it. So I'm a consultant, so I can do that. I'm just kidding. Is everyone trying to get everything working, installed? Anyone stuck anywhere? Maybe that we can. Is it working?
I'm getting further and further.
So Jonathan had problems with the Android SDK. I think Ed's having Android SDK problems.
So at this point, I've been able to
That's
create an
nice.
app. I've been able to add the Android platform to it.
Mm-hmm.
Just having emulator issues. So again, it's more Android.
Well, I heard that the Android emulator is really, really good. That was a joke.
But you're talking about the Jenny source thing that you linked or whatever.
Oh yeah,
Jenny Motion.
yeah. Jenny Motion actually is a lot better from what I've heard. Yeah.
The Android emulator is a lot better than the iOS one.
Is it?
The iOS emulator lies.
Oh.
It just uses OS 10 services instead of iOS services. So if you ask it, hey, can you play this media file?
Right.
If OS 10 can play it, if you've installed a codec, it says sure and plays it. But
Interesting.
doesn't mean iOS supports it.
Right.
I gotcha.
Also, it misreports the amount of RAM you have. It uses the system resources too, which is
That's
dangerous.
In the
yeah.
system GPU.
Yeah.
Emulation.
Works great on my Mac. Oh no, my phone only has 512 megs of RAM.
I take it you guys have run into issues like that before.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
We have lots of prizes too that we're gonna give away, so
I sent you an email. Why don't you pull up, I've got something cool on that.
cool. Download my app.
The second one. Pull open
You want me to pull that up?
Yes.
Alright, hold on a second.
So this is only for people with iOS right now, but I spent some time writing an iOS app while Nick was talking
In NativeScript?
in NativeScript.
What?
And you can all download
See how
it to your
fast
phone.
it is? He's a lot smarter than I am though.
That brother's great.
He's the older brother, he's way smarter. So I'm not gonna show you my password. Is this in my work email?
Yes.
Of course it is.
So if anybody's got, if anybody's got an iPhone, go and download the NativeScript app from the App Store. And this is part of the Telerik platform, the app
Yeah,
builder
so
piece.
Mike will show you Telerik platform stuff, which is kind of cool.
So this is what I think is really cool about the Telerik platform. You've got this thing called a companion app, and this allows for rapid prototyping and then coming back through and getting testing updates out to your users. So what you'll do is you download that NativeScript app. Nick,
I'm pulling
show
it
them
up.
a QR code that's going to come up on the screen here in a minute.
You want version 2?
Yes. There's two QR codes.
Email!
The QR code on the right is to get the NativeScript companion app from the store, if you're wondering. Once you have that and launch that, scan the QR code on the left inside the NativeScript app.
Someone will be a guinea pig. You have a QR reader on your phone, Link? Because I don't install
Yeah,
it.
I've already done this.
So Mike wrote a NativeScript app while I was talking on Telerik platform. That's kind of cool.
And then once you've launched the NativeScript app, you might need to get a little closer to the screen,
Yeah.
sorry.
It's going to ask you to install a second one. So it's their companion and then the NativeScript runner.
Yes. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Those are one-time installs. Once you have that, you can scan the QR code on the left.
That's
which-
the app that you built?
Yeah, can you blow that up a little bit bigger? Zoom in, yeah, there you go.
Zoom.
And that should auto-download the app that I've compiled and built in Telerik Cloud. And that'll just download the app
Sweet.
natively on your phone.
Well, the NativeScript, you launch the NativeScript app and then scan that in the NativeScript app, or do you,
You scan the second one from your NativeScript app. So what you do is,
so NativeScript has its own QR reader built in?
it does have its own QR reader built in.
It's for like rapid,
Yeah.
it's for like the rapid prototyping deployment of it.
So once you guys actually have that out there, what I can do is I can go back and make changes to that app. All you need to do is, with 3 fingers, use a 3-finger tap on your phone. You tap it twice with 3 fingers and hold down. It's gonna go down, sync back that app down to your phone, relaunch it immediately. You've got all the updated bits for the app that I've done.
So basically, I mean, because you're running a VM on your phone, you can keep deploying new code without reinstalling an app.
Yep,
Yeah.
Okay.
it's pretty sweet.
It does it within that.
I'm
And
lost. I started
Did
the
you download it?
No, I just started NativeScript and suddenly it just, what was this?
okay, so from, I think it's like a swipe from the
Ah,
left.
there we go.
Oh, there you go. Mike didn't tell you that part.
Yeah. So go ahead and do the second one. It's gonna download the code, and my app should say, "Thank you, NativeScript."
Nice.
So I pulled an image. I didn't compile the Android one.
So there's a little bit of what you can do with Telerik platform.
So once
Pretty
you've got
awesome. It's
that
pretty
loaded,
awesome.
Actually, I'm gonna go up there and I'm gonna change it instead of saying thank you. I'm gonna say
Just so you know, when I first launched or downloaded it,
Yeah.
first thing I
We
did
got it
was I
working.
had to load a.
They got it working, I had to use a real device, though.
all right. That's
Hey.
by design. It's part of this.
It was super easy, right?
So,
The biggest problem you had was with
Yeah, I'm still
with
updating,
Android.
I'm still updating.
so for those of
Android
you
stuff.
who already have the app that's been loaded on your phone, just use a 3-finger click twice. It's gonna download the app package back down to your phone, and it should not say thank you anymore. It should say have fun. It's gonna relaunch the app
Nice.
and have fun. You
Is
do
it a 3-finger
It's a
hold?
3 hold, like tap tap hold,
Ah,
and then when you let go, then it'll re-download.
It's pretty cool. And I think there's probably an iOS version restriction on NativeScript, but I couldn't tell you what it is.
it is likely iOS 8
That's
because
what
it
I was
uses
gonna
JavaScript core.
What's nice is NativeScript will natively support new iOS versions 0 day.
Yeah.
So you don't need to go and recompile your app for that stuff.
It's pretty cool. Does anyone think this is kind of interesting at all, even a little bit?
I'm the only one.
I think it's really cool, like technology-wise, what they've done with NativeScript is pretty cool. And to have that 0-day support, it's pretty awesome. Did anyone get the update for it and get it working? So that was pretty fast to get a NativeScript app up.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Now I should throw up the QR code for the BroGrow app, which is the Brostein's grocery list app. Of course, because everybody's first app has to be a grocery list.
That's what Mike does in his free time.
That's what I did when I switched off of iPhone over to Windows Phone and really irritated my wife because we lost her favorite grocery app, and so I wrote my own that could be cross-platform using Telerik platform, and called it BroGrow, and she refused to use it. So guess what? I've got an iPhone again because happy wife means happy life.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah. Is anyone stuck on anything?
The Have Fun app, is it just a message or is it?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
That's
that's all
it's,
it
just,
is.
it's a message with an image.
My app was better, right?
Here, I'll explain. It's Cliff, right? No.
Clay.
Clay, just for you. I've updated it to say have fun, Clay. And if you do a
Cool.
triple, if you do a tap and then
It's
a
really
3-finger tap and hold, it should update in your phone.
On
Yep.
this screen.
On that screen, on the app. So it's a double
So-
tap, hold.
There you go.
Okay.
It'll
Wow.
re-download it. So this is what you would do for testing. So if you're working with like a group of users, you want them to test them out on your phone.
Yeah.
I can go make changes in the app. It'll re-download it and compile. It's already up in the cloud, so it's just going to suck it down to your phone and relaunch it.
Oh my gosh.
That's pretty. That's
Pretty awesome,
That's
right?
cool.
Now
That's
that's what
Telerik
Telerik platform does for you, which is the coolest part of this.
And you know what? It just works. Just steal a line from Apple. Do you want to give away some prizes now?
Yeah, let's do some prizes while people are around. So
Mike is
everybody's got a ticket, I think.
distributed tickets, right?
Yeah.
So I'll need to see what we got. Okay, so we got some prizes from Telerik, and then there's some prizes that KiZAN donated to us. So KiZAN gave a ARC keyboard and a gift card.
$25 gift card to
Best Buy. And then the rest of these are, there's 2 shirts here. This is like a
This is Visual Studio
Visual
Partner.
Studio
from
Partner.
KiZAN.
That's for KiZAN too, I guess.
We have a shirt,
Was that one?
size large, MSDN during the revolution.
Telerik gave us a hat. They gave us some cool NativeScript stickers. They also gave us I think this is a speaker.
A Bluetooth speaker.
Bluetooth speaker. This is a really cool like rechargeable charger for like your phone.
Portable charger, cell
Portable,
phone.
and it's got like 2,300 milliamp hours. I gave my wife one, and now she has no excuse to never have her phone charged.
It's got adapters for Android, Windows Phone, and iOS.
There's 2 notepads here. So if we call your number, that's
Let's
one.
see.
That's one
We've got a,
notepad.
this is a Telerik notepad.
I think this is the new one.
This is
This
the
Telerik is owned by Progress now. It's a Progress notepad.
finest quality pleather that we have. We've got Telerik hat too.
It has. So if Mike pulls your number, pick whatever you, one of whatever you want, and if we have more, we'll
It will
put all the
cycle back
numbers
through
back
it.
in.
Last 3 numbers, 377. All right.
Whatever you want.
Has anybody got any motion to work on this Windows?
I don't think so.
I mean, I've used it before for like exam,
Yeah.
whenever I try to